All right, let's just dive right into it. It is literally the ultimate existential question, isn't it? Where did we actually come from? Today, in this explainer, we're going to unpack the fascinating, multi-billion-year story of human evolution. We'll trace our incredible journey, starting from the familiar apes of today, venturing deep into the ancient past, and going all the way back to literal stardust. It's a massive story, but let's map it out together.
To make sense of billions of years of history, we're going to follow this roadmap. We'll start with our closest living relatives, journey through the ancient hominins, explore our dynamic with Neanderthals, ask if we're still evolving today, and finally, trace our roots from stardust to, well, you.
Section 1. Our closest living relatives. We're starting our journey right here, right now, by looking at the animals closest to us today, the great apes.
It is absolutely wild to think about, but we share a staggering 99% of our DNA with chimpanzees, 98% with gorillas, and 97% with orangutans. We're all bundled up in this scientific category called hominids, and we share an incredible amount of traits. None of us have a tail. We share the exact same blood group types, A, B, ABO, and we even share the trait of bipedalism, meaning the ability to walk on two legs. We do it the most prominently, sure, but gorillas and orangutans can do it too. They can even understand human sign language, and believe it or not, they laugh when tickled.
Think of our evolutionary family tree kind of like expanding circles. If we just step back from hominids, we hit the hominoids, which includes the lesser apes like gibbons. Here, everyone shares trichromatic color vision. Step back again to anthropoids, and we loop in Old and New World monkeys. Finally, the biggest circle here is primates, bringing in creatures like lemurs and those high-jumping tarsiers. Throughout all of these primate circles, we share some really fundamental traits. Prehensile hands for grasping, complex social behaviors, and crucially, really large brain sizes relative to our bodies.
Now you might be wondering, if we're so closely related to all these creatures, why on earth don't humans have tails? Well, researchers actually pinpointed this to a mutation in a specific gene, the TBXT gene. Roughly 25 million years ago, this mutation caused the hominoids to completely lose their tails. The likely reason? It happened right around the time our ancestors started walking upright more often. A tail is fantastic for swinging in trees, but it's actually pretty annoying when you're just trying to balance on two legs.
Section 2. Journey of the hominins. Let's travel back in time to look at the branches of our family tree that are no longer with us.
Tracing this winding road back 65 million years, we find Purgatorius, this tiny mouse-like creature considered the world's oldest primate, scurrying up trees to reach fruit. Jump to 25 million years ago with Proconsul, our first tailless ancestor. Then, about 4.4 million years ago, Ardipithecus shows up, the first hominin to walk on two legs, though their super long arms suggest they only did it sometimes. By 3.7 million years ago, Australopithecus arrives. You've probably heard of their famous fossil Lucy. They were fully committed to walking upright and started using naturally sharp stones. Finally, 2.5 million years ago, we meet Homo habilis. This literally translates to handyman, because they were the very first to actively use stone tools to cut meat and scrape highly nutritious bone marrow from leftover carcasses.
But the real game changer here is the monumental leap made by Homo erectus, the working man. They had smaller hands, long legs, and body proportions perfectly built for long-distance running. This allowed them to become the very first species to successfully migrate totally out of Africa, crossing harsh deserts into Asia. They were incredible hunters using stone-tipped spears, but their absolute greatest achievement, they were the first to master the controlled use of fire. By cooking meat, they unlocked this massive, constant supply of excess energy, and that cooked food literally fueled the evolution of our bodies, allowing our ancestors' brain size to surge to a massive 900 cubic centimeters.
Section 3. Sapiens and the Neanderthals. Fast forward a bit, and we find our direct ancestors sharing the planet with our most famous evolutionary cousins.
So about 45,000 years ago in Europe and Western Asia, there was this roughly 5,000-year overlap where Homo sapiens, us, existed right alongside Homo neanderthals. Neanderthals were heavily adapted to the cold climates of Europe. They were shorter, had wider hips, and possessed larger eyes to see during those long, dark European winters. But because so much of their brain was dedicated to visual processing, the areas for complex social relationships were actually smaller. Homo sapiens, on the flip side, survived severe climate shifts thanks to a highly varied diet of meat, fish, and plants, and a crucial ability to build massive trade networks. We created buffers during famines. Ultimately, climate change and extremely low population diversity led to the Neanderthals going extinct about 40,000 years ago.
But here is a really fascinating number. 2%. You see, the Neanderthals didn't just completely vanish. Because our two species overlapped, there was ancient interbreeding. When modern human DNA is analyzed today, it turns out that many of us still carry about 2% Neanderthal DNA, right in our genetic code. It's like a tiny piece of our ancient cousins lives on right inside us.
Section 4. Are humans still evolving? Which brings us to a massive, frequently asked question in evolutionary science. Has our evolutionary journey just stopped with modern Homo sapiens?
The answer is absolutely not. Evolution is a continuous process. Our bodies are constantly adapting to our local climates, diets, and environments right now. Take lactose tolerance, the ability to digest milk as an adult. It's highest in regions where dairy farming has been prevalent for thousands of years, like Scandinavia or Haryana and Punjab in India. We also see lighter skin colors evolving in northern latitudes with low UV light, while populations closer to the equator maintain darker skin for sun protection. And look at the epicanthic fold, that protective fat padding around the eyes seen in Siberian, Asian, and Eskimo populations. That is a direct, brilliant evolutionary adaptation to protect the eyes from harsh snow glare and freezing winds.
And if you want a perfect example of how rapid physical changes can be when environments shift, it's playing out right now. Over just the last century, South Korean women have gained an average of 8 inches in height. 8 inches! This dramatic change is driven entirely by vastly improved nutrition. Interestingly, taller height in women also correlates with fewer complications during childbirth, which just goes to show how quickly our biology responds to better environmental conditions.
Section 5. From Stardust to You. Finally, let's zoom out completely. We've looked at primates and hominins, but to truly understand where we came from, we need to look at the deep, cosmic roots of the whole shebang.
When you trace our ancestry way back, we share an astounding amount of biology with life forms you would never immediately expect. Go back past primates to mammals, and we share replacing milk teeth with lions and a 4-chambered heart with whales. Step back to tetrapods, and we share our 4-limb structure with frogs and birds. Go back even further to all vertebrates, and get this. We share a massive 73% of our DNA with the tiny zebrafish. That is exactly why zebrafish are so heavily used in modern scientific research for things like cancer and heart disease. Their biology is incredibly comparable to ours.
But let's step back even further, to eukaryotes, organisms with complex cells. It sounds totally crazy, but roughly 1 billion years ago, we actually shared a common ancestor with yeast. Seriously. Scientists have literally taken the essential genes required for yeast to survive and successfully replaced them with the equivalent human genes, and it worked. We still share the exact functional genes responsible for manufacturing cholesterol and keeping our cells in shape. You truly do have way more in common with yeast than you might think.
And we can trace those microscopic origins all the way back to the very beginning of the planet, roughly 4.5 billion years ago, past Luca, the last universal common ancestor, to F-Yucca, the first universal common ancestor, forming from free-floating nucleotides in ancient waters. But where did those building blocks even come from? Before Earth existed, our solar system was just a cloud of interstellar gas and dust, a solar nebula. It was the shockwaves from a massive exploding star, a supernova, that caused that dust to settle and actually form our sun and planets. Meaning, quite literally, every single cell in your body is made of ancient stardust.
Now, I know it's hard to wrap your mind around the idea that a single microscopic cell could evolve into a complex, intelligent human being over billions of years. But honestly, just look at the miracle of a human pregnancy. It does the exact same thing on a microscale. It starts as a single fertilized cell, a zygote. Within days, it divides into a hollow blastocyst, implants, and becomes an embryo where major organs form. By 8 weeks, it's a fetus with a recognizable human shape, and at 10 months, a complex human child is born. A single cell transforms into a breathing, thinking human in just 9 months. When you realize that, the idea of single-celled organisms evolving into all life on Earth over billions of years suddenly doesn't seem so impossible, does it?
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought for today's explainer. We have journeyed from the explosions of ancient supernovas through countless extinct ancestors, all the way to Homo sapiens, building trade networks and writing AI code today. But evolution hasn't stopped. So knowing exactly where we came from, where is this continuous, incredible journey taking us next? Thanks for learning with us today.